All right, well, it's noon time, and we're going to go ahead and start this month's Wednesday webinar for Mid-Atlantic Women in Agriculture programs. Today, we're going to be talking about preparing your marketing efforts for the holidays. You can see on here the next three webinars that will finish out 2018 for us. We've had a great year's worth of webinars. All of them have been recorded, and they're posted at the blue link here, extension.umd.edu/women-in-ag. You can go to the webinar page. Pretty soon we'll have 2019s coming up and posted. Some have already been posted online, and we'll be adding to those so we can do, we hope to do 2 a month. We'd like to thank our sponsors as well as the collaborators for this program. And of course, we have our Annie's Project classes and the Women in Agriculture Conference that will be coming up in February. So a lot going on this time of year, and a lot going on the farm if you're doing any holiday marketing. So today we have Ginger Myers. She is with University of Maryland Extension in the West region, but she serves as their statewide marketing specialist. And I'm going to turn it over to her now, giving her privileges. So Ginger, you should be able to advance the slides now.
Okay, Shannon, thank you. And thank you all for joining us today on this nice, brisk fall day. It certainly makes you think of fall, but does it get you in the holiday spirit yet? We found that, is it too early to talk about the holidays? Well, you know, it seems that every year the time gets a little shorter between the holidays and when we start. That line between when customers shop and when they take offense to holiday decor in the store just seems to get becoming more of a blurry one. In fact, I was in the grocery store last night picking up a few things, and in the Halloween candy display area, the Christmas candy was already out. And this note here that 40% of customers have begun their holiday shopping before Halloween, and so have you. As we have more access to online shopping and so forth, it seems that the season gets earlier and earlier all the time. On my own operation, we sell Thanksgiving turkeys. I opened the sale for turkeys in September. I've never done that before, and we have about half of our birds already committed, and we're not even, to the end of October. So it seems that the clock moves faster, and that also perhaps we need to start getting our mindset that the holiday season really seems to be stretching now from about Labor Day through New Year's celebrations. And we have a bigger window of when folks are thinking about not just religious holidays, but seasonal holidays and festive events that all kind of fall under this purview of holidays. So if you're a direct marketer, you need to start already looking at marketing strategies and channels before you're done with your pumpkins and corn mazes, if that's what you're doing. And if you wholesale product, you need to be letting your buyers know what you have already. You're actually probably 2 weeks behind. You need to get that list out of what you might be carrying of maybe specialty products in your soaps and lotions, specialty cuts for the holidays in meats. If you're doing that, you all know that the time between the time you take an animal in and the time you get your cuts back can extend to a month. So have you planned to do your whole boneless hams? Have you planned already with your processor when you're going to cut out those whole beef tenderloins and crown roast, some of those specialty cuts, to make sure you have them and that you can start taking orders or putting holds on some of those with your customers already. We find that folks prefer to make that commitment so they know they have it. It's kind of like our Thanksgiving turkeys here. So where can you get started on this if you haven't, if you've been tied up with so many other things of finishing up farmers market season, or perhaps finishing some things on the farm that you're going to flip over now and to thinking about holiday purchases and products. Where do you start? Well, certainly you need to check out your industry's buzzwords. And You know, where do you find it? What are customers talking about? What's likely to be hot sellers this year? Some of that you can find on your websites. If you go to the if you grow hogs and you go to the American Pork Association, they're already talking about holiday recipes. I will tell you, I don't care if you're selling soaps and lotions or mushrooms. Convenience is one of the big attributes we're looking for this year. Folks want something that's easy to prepare, easy to put together, easy to make, but still has a quality look to it. You can check out other publications. Pinterest is an excellent site to go look at what are people posting as far as their holiday ideas or gifts. You know, we're looking at recipe, gifts, decorations. What are people looking for? I think sometimes we're all guilty of liking our own products the way they are so much that we forget how they need to perhaps be presented and how folks buy them. For instance, most processors want to put bacon in a 1-pound pack, and while I have lots of customers that buy that way, for gifts for older folks, sometimes I have requests for half-pound packs of bacon because these folks don't use it as fast. Can we think, again, that's back to that convenience. How can you tailor your products to those kind of gift ideas or special interest? And again, Pinterest, and I just saw this morning that a statistic that Instagram has now overtaken Snapchat for where the younger generation is going, and you may want to check out Instagram as a way of doing some branding and marketing. Goes beyond my presentation today, but there's some presentations in the archives of these webinars, and you can check that out to learn a little bit more about that. Well, what about where people find you? Are your listings up to date? I realize that we all spend a lot of time on the internet posting and so forth, but first of all, check out your analytics. You do check your analytics, right? You do have Google Analytics for your site. Perhaps you've checked your Facebook analytics and your social media to find out where people are coming from, when they're coming, what their search words are. These can kind of help you perfect your marketing message for the holidays. We find that folks respond to certain phrases, you know, homegrown, homemade, local, perhaps family traditions. What are those kind of catchwords, and how have people searched for you? But by and large, folks are going to find you online, whether that's in front of a computer or on a phone. They're going to look at your listing. So make sure that that's up to date. You know, have your hours changed as we go to maybe shorter or longer hours? Have you started some kind of online purchasing and delivery service? Now's the time to really brush that up so that when folks do come to you, you have every opportunity to capture a sale or get in front of their messages as much as you would like. So back to that message and looking at customers and so forth, who are your customers likely to be? Where do they live? What do they buy? Do you know these things? I hope that when you make sales or you're out around that you actually do a little market research. I know when there's a new person walks into my store, I usually try to ask them how they found us. And usually it's a Google search by certain words. And so that's a key for you to say, to make sure that those kinds of words are on your website, in your home page, so that they come up in a Google search. How many people are in your marketing area? Well, in Maryland, it seems that you can drop a pin anywhere and find lots of folks in your marketing area. But I also find that sometimes using a shotgun approach to just put it out there for everybody really misses local. I think all of us are always disappointed when someone comes in and says, I didn't know you were here and I live right down the road. That's a real conundrum of how to get that word out to just your neighbors. And so you need to be very familiar with where your marketing area is. What are you trying to draw from? if you've ever done a Facebook paid ad, they're going to ask you where in your region, perhaps surrounding cities, you want to highlight. So in our own operation, we dropped a pin and drew a 20-mile circle around our farm and said that's primary for us. Doesn't mean we won't drive beyond that or we won't deliver beyond that, but when I spend my marketing dollars and my marketing time, I'm really looking at that 20-mile radius. You could do it through zip codes as well. I was at a site the other day where somebody said, eat your zip code, and they were using that as a mantra to buy local, to buy where you knew, and so it captured that idea. And so what are your customers currently buying, or what are they looking for? Again, how do you know these things? Well, probably from your own sales, but certainly talking to consumers. But back to that, doing a little market research on trends and popularity. I think sometimes when we find a trend, let's say the Blue Apron or HelloFresh delivery system, our first reaction is, oh, competition, and we don't like it, instead of boring down and looking at that example of why would someone do that? What am I missing that they don't come to me for that? Certainly there's always going to be some things you're not going to be able to service, but look for a takeaway from the competition. What can you add or change that your customers may be looking for? So again, then, how much potential is there? And is it seasonal, or is this a product that perhaps you have now, but you're going to highlight as a seasonal item for gifts? Or if you're adding new product, is this something that you want to introduce during the season, but you want to test it that way to see if it's a mainstay product? Certainly, people are price sensitive, but I do find that high quality products still bring a good price. This all predicates on you knowing what your cost of goods and services are. I was talking with some vendors up in Pennsylvania the other day, and we were talking about value-added foods, and they all agreed that they mark things up 30%. And I was kind of scratching my head with the final number, and they said, well, folks want our product. They know it's a good product. We have to make a profit to stay in business, and that by and large their consumers aren't pushing back on a price. Now again, it's got to be a quality product, and people will shop around, but the other caveat to this is to remember not everyone is your customer. If it's something that's not in a price range, you might not make a sale, but at the same time, you can't build a business on least cost customers all the time. And are your customers or consumers adequately served at present? Do you have a lot of competition in your area? Do you have the ability to offer a service or a packaging or a product that's perhaps in demand, excuse me, but not in your area? You know, I'm looking at the trends of gluten-free baking. You know, 5 years ago, you couldn't hardly find anyone at a farmer's market that did that. Now we've got gluten-free bakers. I've seen other bakeries that will offer the regular baked goods, but offering a gluten-free line. I've seen also folks that are looking perhaps for animals raised a certain way that's being highlighted when they're looking for that. They're usually doing some kind of Google search under something, perhaps the phrase grass-fed meat. So they're looking for a certain type of product. And if you have that, you need to have that listed in your promotions and your online presence so they can find that. So defining these target customers, we used to talk about the ideal customer, and I really think that we now need to think more of the ideal grouping of customers. What are their wants and needs? Is it perhaps convenience? Is it perhaps local? Is it perhaps health consciousness? Is it some kind of quality of life issue they're looking for? And think of it in terms of groups rather than specific individual type. You should also review last year's marketing plan, you know, what worked and what didn't, and did you write any notes, and do you have something written down? Most of us can remember our train wrecks, but we don't always remember what did work successfully. I think we need to review last year's plan. Did you have enough people to implement? Did you have the logistics? Was your website updated? Did you have a way for people to order? Did you have a way to do good customer service? We need to learn from our past, or we'll repeat our problems again. So at least give a ponder about what worked and what didn't. And if you have some employees or family that work through the holiday season, ask them if the things they remembered that really worked well, perhaps how to get folks through the cash register, or how to have enough iPads that folks could run through Shopify or Square and we didn't have lines waiting, or perhaps it was how to get product delivered, whether that was online ordering or delivery or through the mail. But think about last year or how you wanted to do it. If this is your first year, consider what might be, put yourself in your customer's place and consider what might be a problem for you. Delivery dates get to be more and more of a concern as we get closer and closer. Specific holidays like Thanksgiving, like Christmas, be sure to give yourself enough space and time to do a delivery or have something arrive. Nobody wants their Thanksgiving turkey available the day after Thanksgiving. And same way with Christmas gifts and so forth. We have a lot of shipping alternatives, but I will tell you the snafus of UPS and FedEx, just always plan to give yourself a little more extra time. And you might want to just jot some notes this year on a pad somewhere that you can fill it in quick after the end of the season and put it in the drawer for next year's decision making. Gift cards. Now, this is a 2015 quote, but it still holds. And if anything, we know that folks are purchasing more gift cards and that the rate of redemption is not 100%. Now, you shouldn't sell gift cards with the idea of, oh, some of these people are never going to buy this or use it. But in reality, there's usually not 100% redemption. And again, that figure of millennials, I think all of us are very concerned about identity fraud and getting our data out there, where gift cards perhaps can limit that somewhat more than having our credit card information out somewhere. There's a card in this picture here, but I will tell you, if you want to make up a paper gift certificate for your store, not everything has to run through a swipe or electronically. I've found that sometimes a nicely designed gift card from my shop, put in a Christmas card that says a gift for you, and I mail that to the folks who bought it. They appreciate getting the card. They actually oftentimes will put, the receiver will put that gift certificate maybe on their refrigerator with a magnet to remember to use it, and I'm getting free advertising the whole time it's there. So consider gift cards. They don't have to be plastic. They don't have to be super fancy. They do need the information about how much and who it's from, and be sure to put an expiration date on there, and also develop your policy now. What do you do if somebody calls you a month after the expiration date? Are you going to honor it or not? That's the one downside I found with gift cards, that folks forget. So I by and large honor them because if it's not too far out. But you know, be sure what your policy is, and let the buyer know what your policy is on that. So to help you focus on how to approach this, I'm advocating that you kind of develop a seasonal marketing calendar as a way to organize this. This way you won't be overwhelmed of turning your plan from a paper tiger into a well-oiled sales engine. If you can have something written and planned out in advance. You can be much more focused on how you're spending your marketing time when there's so many other things to do. To do this, and I'm going to talk about having a written calendar, a wall calendar, but for those folks who like to use electronics, you can certainly put it on your desktop. I'd be hesitant to do too much of this on a phone. It's very hard to see, and it's not right in front of your face the way I'm going to talk about it now. But to do this plan, first analyze your inventory. What do you have? What falls into to what products and services would be useful for certain holidays like Thanksgiving? You know, we think of pumpkins and Indian corn and some of those kinds of things versus things for certain holidays of faith where we have different decorations. And certainly when you get into New Year's celebrations, that's an entirely different lot. I will tell you that I'll sell whole boneless hams for Christmas, but pork shoulders and pork roasts and chops are what I sell for New Year's Eve from the tradition of eating pork. So kind of categorize your inventory. Again, are there certain items, vegetables that you're looking to get out there into the Thanksgiving meals? I think, you know, we have traditions across this state that vary as to what folks are looking for. You know what they are, and you need to get on top of that list now. Back to my own experience with the turkeys, I am forming an add-on list at this time that I'm going to nail out whether folks, when they pick up their turkey, want to pick up their beef tenderloin. It's going to be frozen, they can keep it, or their Christmas ham. I'm also working with some veggie growers to make sure we have sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, collard greens, things so that they can buy and pick up. If you don't have it in your own inventory, perhaps this is the time to look to someone else to help supplement some of your offerings. But certainly take a look and organize some of these products that you have, and some things are going to surface into a special category. Perhaps food, perhaps gift items, whether you want to sell them individually, or perhaps you'll put together some boxes, some holiday gift boxes, what would fit in well with another. While you're doing this inventory, though, make sure you consider some cost on these items so that when you do start grouping some things, that you'd still have a pretty good margin on those. It's also time, if you're going to do any kind of gift boxes or wraps, to start getting that packaging together. You know, people buy things with their eyes. They're going to want these baskets or boxes or gifts to look festive and to look like a nice gift. I would give you a tip that if you go to someplace like Goodwill, you can get a lot of holiday baskets and packaging materials at a pretty good price, and if you shop around a little bit, you'll be able to put together some nice gift-type boxes. Once you sort your inventory, and I would say there's some things in your inventory that are going to fall down to the bottom of the list. For instance, I have beef and cheddar hot dogs. I don't think anybody's buying them for the holidays. They'll still be in my case. They'll still be my kid meal for when folks come in. But I'm not going to concentrate a lot of my marketing efforts in packaging and getting hot dogs out there. So I still will have my winners and some of my, what I call my lower lines, that will keep in stock. But I like to buy a large desk calendar with lots of room for writing. You know, the kind that have the big squares on it. And I would encourage you to perhaps take some colored pens and highlight the upcoming holidays on there. We kind of, we know the dates, but sometimes if you can see them on a large desk calendar, you get the feel for the number of days or weeks. Once you have those dates listed, take a look at when you need to start to do some marketing and promotion. Count back the number of weeks that you want to start a campaign. Maybe if you're doing Christmas, if you're looking at Christmas marketing, and it really is going to start December 1st, you know, as soon as we're through Thanksgiving and some of the electronic Christmas shopping days, we're into holiday shopping, so if you figure it's going to take you 2 months to do all your promotion work, that calendar date's probably getting circled next week or earlier on some of this. So get the calendar, count back, put a star on there and when you need to start doing things and when certain things should happen. When should you have the save the date? When should you have coming attractions? When should you have, let your customers know this is the last ordering day, or these are what we have available while supplies last, and give them some time and yourself to get that marketed out there, get the orders in and processed. Do not wait for a week before when you think everybody will have a rush, and you will. But remember, we said that 40% of people have already started their Christmas shopping. So what we're trying to do here is get out in front of this a little bit to use your market planning, get your tools together, get it out in front of folks earlier, and that number 3 of planning your implementation. When are you going to do certain things? The beauty of a business plan is to have an outline of when things happen. When are you going to do certain things and implement? When are you going to start marketing? When do you need to look at finances? And it helps you avoid snap decision and rush work. Same way with here, if you have a plan, if you can look at that calendar, you won't be rushed. You're less likely to miss getting something out to a certain group, getting your postings done for social media. If you can schedule those ahead. Having this calendar with some dates marked give you those benchmarks on how to implement and how to get it done. There are only 30 days, shopping days between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you're going to need to make good use of every opportunity. And the best way to do that is to be prepared, to have your implementation plan of when things are going to happen already planned out, and that big calendar. If the calendar doesn't work, you'll see my little picture here. This is a chalkboard that someone just gridded out and put notes on as to who's doing what and when it's got to happen. But write it down. Carrying it around in your head won't help your team to get it done, and you're more likely to miss that. So the desk calendar, a chalkboard, a calendar on your computer that you pull up and have in front of you, whatever works for you, but get it written down. And then, go back and record your results from even perhaps it's, well, I was going to try to have this done by this date and we missed it this year. Let's get that done earlier next year. Or we had to do this 5 times before we got anyone to really put it in order. They didn't see it. But here's your chance to make some notes that will make you more productive the next time around. And finally, and this has been a pretty quick seminar, and if you have questions, please put it in chat, but it is the holidays. You should have some fun with it as well. Folks who are coming to purchase from you are coming for as much the experience as they are the product. They would like to have a nice experience. People buy things from people they like, so from the standpoint of being in a good mood, being happy, being able to give good customer service will make this whole process more enjoyable for both you and your customer, and hopefully more profitable for you as well. So I'll wish you all a early holiday success and happy marketing.
All right, Ginger, you got a couple question here. What percentage of one's budget and time should be devoted to marketing?
That's an excellent question, and I get it often, irregardless of whether we're talking the holidays or setting up a budget. And I try to remind folks, first of all, your marketing budget has to be from profits. Folks often want to take their total sales and say, I'll do 5% of this, I'll just budget into marketing. Well, actually you don't have that money to spend in marketing because you haven't made it yet. It would be better to look at how much profit do you have, and then how much of that are you going to give. And again, I'm going to say, if you've got an established product, like I've sold turkeys for several years, I know that I don't need to do a lot, perhaps 3% of a marketing effort there, because I've already got many of the forms, I've got the pictures, I've got that there, and it won't take as much. Now, if I'm going to introduce a new product, in my case, say charcuterie, I'm going to spend, a lot more of my marketing effort over these holidays, perhaps 20% even, talking about new products in my store, that why they're there, how to use them. So I don't need to hedge, but it depends on, are you talking marketing established items already, new items? I've seen the statistics of anywhere from 5 to 8%, but I'm also going to tell you, are you now talking in that marketing budget web hosting? Are you talking fees for using Square or Shopify? You really need to sit down and run your enterprise budget to see the cost, the anticipated profit, and then a percentage of the profit. And again, as I've said, for established businesses, it could be 5 to 8. For a new business, we could be 10 to 15% of the profit. And that seems like a pretty big chunk. But again, on the timeline, the more established you are, some of the less some of the cost will become.
Okay, other questions? Oh, yeah, we have another one. How do we track specific marketing efforts to see what the response has been? If something doesn't work first, do you retry it, tweak it? What would you say as far as your marketing efforts to see, if they've been successful?
Well, that's one of the great things about the internet. If you have an email list, and I sure hope you have an email list, because that's the way you're going to touch the customers most often and actually get a response. You can do a little survey work, asking them about product. One time I used to grow a lot of veggies, and I grew these purple carrots that I thought were absolutely great because they were purple carrots. But when I got them to a farmer's market, another farmer took one look at them and said, they're pretty ugly carrots. And I was really embarrassed. I pulled them off the table. They were really ugly carrots. And we sometimes like our own product so much that we don't see it in other eyes. I have asked customers for recipes and how they use product. I haven't asked them, do you like, do you not like it? I've asked them oftentimes, how did it work for you? And they'll give me a recipe, or they'll perhaps say, I was surprised that it did this. And so I can get feedback that way. If you do use some of the social media like Facebook, you can run a little poll, a little contest. What was your favorite product you bought this season? There's ways to collect that and get feedback. Now, do you drop it? Do you revise it? Do you keep it going? Part of it is, I'm going to ask you, how much of it do you have? If you have a lot of it in stock, you'll need to revise and figure out how to do that a little differently. For instance, we have lamb, and a lot of people are hesitant to buy lamb because they're not sure how to cook it. Even though all the cooking classes, they might know how to cook a leg or maybe do chops. But if we take that same lamb and we make it into a lamb sausage in a link, everybody knows how to cook sausage. And we find that ground lamb and lamb sausage is our most popular lamb products. And it's probably how I sell 80% of the lamb that goes out my door. I have the lamb here. I have the cost in the processing and raising them. So for me to maximize how to get that out of my freezers, I had to listen to how my customers wanted to use it and change the form it was on for them. That might also come in how you package vegetables. You know, when I sometimes think, you know, how many cucumbers do I really need? I don't need as many as perhaps the person who's got lots of cucumbers to sell that day want to put in my basket. So most of this is take a look at your product and what you're doing from your customer's vantage point, and always just ask questions. Ask them for their feedback. People like being engaged. That's the difference between your marketing and for them buying it either online or going to a retail store that's very busy. Have that conversation, have that availability, be their expert, be their partner in this purchase and so forth. But that's something you can do to then refine your own product.
All right, other questions? Yes. Is there a concern among customers on how their personal information will be used? So when you collect personal information, do you?
Okay, let's talk about personal information. I do think there is a concern. Certainly, I have some customers who, when they do an electronic checkout, I'll ask them if they want a receipt emailed to them. And they'll tell me no, because they're absolutely sure that once that's captured, that's, you know, they're going to get all kinds of stuff. And I respect that. I often give customers the option. Do you want to email this? I collect emails from my CSA with the caveat that they are not to be shared, and I put that right out there. Folks give me their credit card information, and I destroy it. They get frustrated sometimes, and they'll say, well, Ginger, I gave that to you last week, and I tell them, I don't keep any of it. You need to figure out what that looks like for your business, and then tell your customers what that's going to be like. I do have a customer who sent me a copy of her credit card. She took a JPEG picture and sent it to me to pay a deposit on a hog. Now, I can't stop people from doing some of that sort of thing if they want to, but you need to come up with what is your policy for your business and make sure that they understand that. I don't share data with anybody. I don't give out emails. I don't give out credit card information. That's all kept in-house.
Okay. Other questions for Ginger?
Just real quick, back onto that. If somebody signs up for your email list, there needs to be, you know, that they consented. You know, if they want on your MailChimp list, if they type it in, if they give it to you, that is consent. So, again, my policy is I don't share my email list, but at the same time, if they've given it to me, then the burden is on them that they shared it.
And that is one thing that I've seen, Ginger, is I do try to protect. I've been on mailing lists where they send it out to everybody, so you can see the entire list of who they sent it to. So if you don't have it somewhere protected like MailChimp, and you're just sending an email, I always put it in a blind copy so people can't see, oh, here's all the list of their customers.
Yes, yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, Ginger, well, thank you very much for a great webinar today. And, oh, thinking about the holidays already is kind of crazy, but you're right. You're right. Thinking about it ahead of time and getting it on the calendar to start planning is so important.
Thank you.
So important. I'm going to stop recording here.